It's a Pakistan question. According to Al Jazeera, Pakistan's government has announced the reinstatement of Chaudhry, the deposed Chief Justice, as well as all other deposed judges in a bid to defuse the country's political crisis and a protest march that was threatening to turn into a violent confrontation. The Prime Minister says Chaudhry would be reinstated as Pakistan's Supreme Court Justice on March 21st, the day his replacement was due to retire.
Well, what do we want to know?
Your comments.
Internal infighting. Perhaps the United States had something to do with it. I would think so. Other than that, we have ranges over there in Pakistan guarding the nuclear weapons facility. I know I've talked to them, and so we're very active there. We give them a lot of money as well, like we give everybody else. But we get tent cities in America for people who are out of jobs. It's not quite fair to American citizens when these people are getting all of the things that they want from America and we're not taking care of our own. It's a little upsetting, to say the least. But anyway, I really don't have any further comment. All I can say is that everything is very tribal there. It's a balkanization process that's going on in Afghanistan and Iraq before that, and now Pakistan. And it'll spread. The United States wants to upset everything so they can have a war, and I think they'll soon have one. And you better hide your children and your grandchildren because they're all going to end up dead.
What do you think of I'm combining all these questions together on one. What do you think of the tabloid, The Globe? They've issued
Which Globe?
This just says The Globe. I guess they produced the Globe's military mutiny, Bush's suicidal story. He wants to know if, these are just tabloid, if these stories are more than just tabloid fodder, or if you have any insight.
No. No, I don't, but...
How many Globes are there?
Well, I think there's one which is a scandal sheet. And then there's the Boston Globe. And there's a Globe and Mail in Toronto. Just to name a few. So I would rather think they're probably talking about the tabloid. But, I don't know. You got to be more specific.
Yeah, I would think that the tabloid.
And I don't read that sort of thing because, they have pictures on the cover with babies with 3 heads and stuff like this. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
And people really buy them.
Well,
no wonder people are broke.
There's a lot of unusual people out there. I'll leave it at that. I mean, in this society today, who knows what normal is?
Yeah. The Interfax news agency reported on Saturday that a Russian Air Force chief said that the Venezuela's president has offered an island as a temporary base for strategic Russian bombers. The agency reported that Chief of Staff of Russia's long-range aviation, Major something,
whatever,
said that President Chavez has offered a whole island with an aerodrome.
Well, Chavez said this morning that's not true. So I don't know any more than that.
Okay. We really don't have a lot of questions today either. I'm going to go back to Friday, see if there's anything hanging in there for Friday. we pretty much yes, here's this dead air that we're talking about. Why did gold have such a rapid rise and fall in 1980? Is there any possibility of something like that happening in the near future?
Well, I think the key in 80 was that we had 13.5% inflation, and it was when they reported real numbers. It wasn't this Mickey Mouse stuff of hedonics and death ratios and all of the stuff that they've created in the meantime over the last 28 years to mislead people or just outright lie to them. And so, you know, when you had 13.5% inflation, it was a big factor. And, of course, that's what made the price of gold run up. And at the same time, Paul Volcker was raising interest rates. And all the while when he raised them, gold went higher and higher, which rather surprised me at that time. I remember distinctly. I said, you know, really, should this be happening this way? And the answer was no, but it did. And then when we got to 21.5% interest rates, the economy finally broke and gold broke. Actually, it was interesting. Gold went to $850 and it went back to $680. And it traded between $680 and $720 for maybe 3 months, 2 months. And the price of the stocks went crazy. Just crazy. And so when gold hit $850, the stocks weren't at their highs. It came later, maybe 3 or 4 months later, when gold was at $680, $720 in that area. And then they took a giant run. And I said to myself, gee, this shouldn't be happening either. I better get out, and I did, and that was the end of it.
He wants to know what people should do about credit card debt. Should they be paying it off or worrying about getting survival supplies and gold in order?
Survival supplies are far more important than paying off your credit card. And that includes your filter and your weapons and your gold and silver. So I'm not saying not to pay the payments that are due. You have to do that. But don't pay it off. If I talked to you 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, pay it off. But not anymore. I mean, you pay what you have to pay and take all the money you can and put it into those areas, because you only have a time frame, I think, of 2 years left before the plug gets pulled and this thing goes into the great dark pit, thing being the economy and the world situation. I mean, if I'm right, you have no idea how bad it's going to be.
There's a mining bill out there, H.R. 699.
Yes, what I've done is I run a piece on it, and I've asked the president of one of the mining companies to see if the legal department will allow him to make comments on it. And so I'm waiting for them to come back. I contacted him and talked to him on Friday, and he's going to see what he can do. The subscribers own a lot of this stock, so, you know, he owes them one. And so hopefully he'll be able to come back and say, this is my take on it. I contacted another company, and they didn't want to get into it because it was political. You know, mining companies are at the mercy of politicians because they have to have permits for this and permits for that and so on. And so that's why they don't speak out. But in this case, you know, even if he doesn't speak out, if he gives his take on it to me, I'll just rewrite it and say I'm saying it, you know, so we don't get this guy's head chopped off. So anyway, I'm working on that. It's not good. I don't think it'll pass, but you never know. We just went from a corporatist fascist government to a communist government, and I guess they're going to meet somewhere in between in some sort of socialism or communism or whatever. I mean, America they don't have a clue to what's being done to them. They just don't understand. I mean, this whole society in the United States and throughout the world is all going to collapse.